Welcome back to Real Estate with Mariah and Spenc, where we sit down every week and we talk all about real estate. For today's show, it's going to be really fun because we have two recently asked viewer questions that you guys have asked us, and we are just going to give our best, most honest answers to these questions.
These type of shows are like the funnest for me.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to come up with content creativity, but you guys as the audience, it's super important that you guys want to feel to interact with us so we can get all of your real estate questions answered and needs dealt with. Now, we did notice there are a couple financial ended questions, so we're just not qualified for the Roth IRA stuff. What should you do? That's more CPA advice.
Yeah.
But real estate related, we're definitely able to give you guys tips, showings, how to sell your house, what should you look for as a buyer, those type of things. So feel free to leave in the comments. We will take note, and maybe in another future show, we will get your answers to the questions.
Yes. And if you listening have any real estate related questions, or if you have any real estate referrals, send them our way. Best way to reach us is to shoot us an email or email us through our website. Both will be in the description below. Okay, the first question here is, how should I save as a college student about to graduate?
There's a lot of variables with this one question because, I mean, in college, in my experience, unless you get a full ride scholarship, sports, academically, whatever it may be, you usually have a thing called debt attached to your name, attached to your social security number. And so every time you graduate, there's usually a debt payoff you got to pay off. And that ultimately does affect your debt to income ratio. And it's a very hard thing for a lot of Americans, a lot of young Americans in the college and the school industries. And the biggie is, how can you save to pay off that debt while also saving for your first time home ownership purchase? That's one of the big questions that I even have for some of my clients. And ultimately, it comes down to that lender and the pre-approval process. Now, there are reasons you go to college. I just closed a deal with a doctor, for instance. He just got out of med school, and they have amazing loan programs for meds, or like physicians, doctors, those type of things. Zero down programs, even though he's $200,000, $300,000 in debt. He did a zero down loan program for a $605,000 transaction here in Oregon. I had never worked with anything like that. And it's one of those things where we really have to digest your financials. We really have to see what your current income is, because we all know doctors, they make good income. So if your net to, or debt to income ratio monthly makes sense, then yes, we can get you pre-approved for that right home. But the key is, what's your job? What's your title? And ultimately, how long are you willing to save, and what is your amount needed to put down? That is one of the biggies, because these college loans, you can be 30 years out and you make more small monthly payments and you're done, $100, $200 a month to that college loan debt. But with a house, you definitely have to have income available and ready that a lender sees for that loan to be approved. So it's a little bit different ball game that we are playing with, but that would be more of a lender question. But saving wise, I think it's more dependent on your spending habits and your job opportunities that you're currently invested and involved with. Because after you get that college degree, yes, there is a reason why you went to college. There's a reason why you have that degree. And generally, you're going to start out of the gate with a higher salary than the majority of Americans, generally speaking.
I would say really have a plan in place, I think, is really important. One, also, if you do have, this question was very vague, so we don't know the specifics here, but if you do have debt of any kind, whether that's student loans or anything else, a car payment, anything else, I would say start by just tackling the debt, while simultaneously at the same time, have a separate bank account. We always say this, but it's the way that we've been able to purchase, the properties we've purchased. And I feel like it's kind of like a no-fail plan, is opening a separate bank account at a separate bank that you do not have access to, you don't have a card to. And this is only for saving for your real estate, whether that's, your first house or your next house, and contribute a certain amount to that every month. Just give yourself, go through your finances and decide what that looks like for you. Even if it's a smaller amount, it might take you longer, but that way, that you're at least proactively saving for that down payment for your house. And being able to see that there, I feel like it has a snowball effect. It makes it a lot easier to be good with your finances, I guess, if you can see like in this one account, like, oh wow, look at how it's like piling it, like, you know, every month it's fun to watch as well.
And I that reminded me though, talking about college students, it reminds me of a story of not a client of mine, but an actual friend of mine that we graduated high school with. There was a group of girls, they went to school, a local school here in Oregon College. And in the meantime, they decided to do a side hustle. They decided to go to Goodwill, go to thrift shops, go to garage sales, do what they can. They collected couches. You know those free couches everybody sees, $5-10, come and get it?
Yeah.
They'd buy it $5-10 and they'd upsell it for like $75-80 or even $200, whatever, if it was a good couch. So there's always some type of side hustle money that you can do that then you can put into that side account that Mariah maybe suggested you do and open. But I am a big fan of paying off that debt first. You're not going to necessarily tackle your college debt. Go from your minimals, get the minimal. Now roll that debt into that next debt that you have and pay off those credit cards if you have any. Pay off that car payment if you have a car. And then tackle the higher debt, like your loan payment that you're kind of strangled by if you are in that scenario and you're a college student.
Right. And also take advantage of this time in your life. I feel like being, you know, like this person that asked the question, being somebody who has just graduated from college, I feel like maybe if you're in that situation, you might not quite realize this, because I think when I was this age, I didn't necessarily realize this as well, but you have a lot of time on your hands, most likely. Even if you have, you know, full-time job, whatever, like you have probably a lot more time than you will ever have. You know, then once, you know, you have kids later on and then you got to take them, but like things really, really change. I know for me, what that looked like when I was at the age of somebody who, you know, just graduated college or, you know, in college, I was working a lot in my real estate business. I didn't have another like side hustle, if you will, because that was, you know, there's endless things you could do to work on your business. But if you do have, you know, your job, your career, whatever that looks like, you probably have a lot of time, or at least some time, and maybe that takes some sacrifices, but you probably have more time than you at least will later in your life to have some sort of a side hustle. Like, can you even just like driving Uber, whatever you can do to just like gain some extra money and maybe just say like, I'm not going to live off of that money. All of that goes towards my savings for my down payment. Just, I don't know. I just feel like that time in your life is a good time to make sacrifices, because you do have a lot more time than you probably will later on, to be honest.
And lastly, we're going to move on after this point, but a lot of people, for whatever reason, they think they're 20, they're 25, even 28 years old. They just graduated out of college and they feel like they need their independence continued on. If you're living in a situation, you're near your family, you're near your parents, don't let pride hold you back from moving in with your parents to save up, because every time you're living there month by month, maybe you give them a portion of groceries, whatever they're collecting if they charge you rent. I guarantee you it's cheaper than the current rent price in your area. I almost guarantee you that.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Try and move in with a family member and try and make it free. Pitch in, be a good servant, buy groceries, do the laundry. Don't get kicked out of your own parents' house being an adult. But that is an easy, simple way I suggest you can save money. And that's because you're not paying rent 100% interest to another landlord. Okay? Invest in yourself, your parents. Maybe that's your future inheritance. It doesn't matter. Try and save that way by moving in with a family member or a parent, and forget about your pride. Okay? A lot of people are like, I'm too old to be living with my parents. No, it's not that weird.
No.
It's really not. You go to different cultures, it happens.
It's true.
People are living together until they're, old, and that's just the way it is. The household is forever.
Yeah, it's the norm in so many cultures. We're the weird ones. The Americans are one of the only cultures where like that's not the norm.
But, and so if that's you, think about that. Maybe change that mindset and go move in. Try and live for free if you can, briefly. You're not using, but you're also contributing to that household when you're doing that and honoring the household.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm glad you added that. Okay, so this next question is, should I prioritize buying a house over renting an apartment? I understand a starter home should be extremely modest, but are there houses that may be bad to buy? Maybe homes that go down in value? What should I look out for that? So I feel, okay, so I guess this question was like two questions in one. The first part was, should I prioritize buying a house over renting an apartment? Yes, you should. If you can't afford a
Yes.
house, I don't care what interest rates are doing. I don't care what the housing market is doing. You should invest in real estate. It is one of the best, it is the safest investment, and it is the best thing that you can do for your future, for future you. And I know that's not everyone's opinion, but I completely believe that.
Yeah.
Even if you can't afford a house, prioritize investing in something that you own, that you can start building equity and sheltering income in. If that's the worst, smallest, crappiest, oldest, most rundown condo in your town that you can find, then I would say that that's a smarter financial decision than renting an apartment.
Yeah. And, I think we are living in a world right now to where I think the normal person is not going to be able to afford a house anymore after this next 2-year jump. I'm just seeing it right now in projections. What do we do? Are we in a housing bubble? Is this a new normal? Are housing prices expected to drop by $200,000, $300,000 and get to the pay dirt again? I don't think so. I think that we are going to remain in this housing pricing aura, I would say. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the average sales price, I do not see going down and decreasing by hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just don't see it. Inventory's there. We got just under 3 months of inventory specifically in our area. Interest rates are still at 7%. People are still buying. Now, what's going to happen when interest rates are 5.5%? I don't see them going below 5.5% over the next year and a half. But when they do hit the 6s, when they do hit the 5s, you guys better be ready as buyers to hit the doors running. And brokers, you better have your phones on. If the broker is not answering their phone, you call me, Spencer Crawford. We will make that happen, and we will connect you with an agent in your area.
Yeah.
Time will be ticking. And you may only have a short amount of time to find the right property before these home prices just skyrocket by 20, 25%.
Yeah.
It's going to be an unprecedented time. We thought the last 4 years might be weird. These next 2 to 3 are going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's either going to be really good or really bad. I think my forecast is get ready, put your belts on, and hit the ground running when you can. If you find an opportunity, you take it.
Yeah.
Take your opportunity, buyer. If the right home's up for you, it's doable financially with your monthly payment. Get a roof over your head.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now is a good time to own real estate. Even if, at times you might look at your house and what it's worth and be tempted to sell it, but I'm almost scared to ever sell. I'm
scared to sell this place.
I don't want to sell. I want to keep and just keep adding more if possible, real estate wise, because the real estate is just something you want to hold on to. That's all I have to say. I've seen a lot throughout my years. I've gone into a lot of houses from home buyers and sellers and talked to so many people who have made good and bad decisions real estate wise. And all I have to say is from what I have seen, you really want to own real estate, and the longer you own it, the better. Okay. So, lastly, to finish this question was, is there anything I should avoid? Basically, I think they're just is there something I shouldn't buy? A home that might go down in value?
Yeah. So I would say, consider the condition, consider the location. As always. Let's go back to the basics of real estate.
Yeah. Condition,
location, and price. Okay. There's those 3 categories. I would start with location. Make sure the resale value could be there. But once again, first-time home buyer, don't look as a resale value what you can make in 2 years after that tax law is broke, okay? Look for it as in, okay, I'm buying a house. Am I going to be happy here for 5 to 8 years max? 5 to 8 years. That is the average home seller. They're going to stay in the home 5 to 8 years, okay? Yeah. And then they're going to say, you know what, it's time to move on. Maybe I got a growing family. This house has been fine for me. I'm going to sell it. Usually after that time frame, you at least have equity in it. And like I just mentioned, I think equity's coming. So you're not even going to really worry about that as long as you get a roof over your head and purchased in the next year or so.
Yeah. So what you shouldn't buy, I showed this house 2 nights ago, and it was $375,000, which in our market, there's not really any houses
that's a great price.
That cheap. Yeah, that is the lowest, there's nothing that inexpensive, I guess you could say, in our market, good side of town, all of that. And so as you could imagine, it was flocked, tons of showings. Everyone wanted to see it because it was just such a desirable price. And this house, you walk inside of it and it is like the biggest money pit. Just to make it livable and comfortable to live in, you would have to put so much money. Like, this is not just a flipper fix. And so a house like that could be a tremendous money pit where you might be looking at it like, whoa, it's way below market value. Like, there's other homes. It was in a really nice neighborhood, which I would always say it's a good idea to buy the worst house in the neighborhood. Yeah. You want to buy that house, but a house like this where it's like so endless things that need to be done to it just to make it livable. I'm not talking cosmetic. I wouldn't suggest buying that for your first house because things always cost more than you expect. So I would say be open cosmetically. Try not to be too picky about what the floors look like and the paint on the walls and the kitchen cabinets. Like, those are things you can change fairly easily, even yourself, like DIY. But be careful with the structural money pit things.
I want to remind the audience, there's a difference, a big difference between cosmetics and the structure. Okay. Yes. The structure itself, if there are things wrong foundationally, things are just caving in, floorboards. It's an uneven house. Yeah. There's a lot of things structurally, and if they come up, your inspector will notice and take note on the inspection report. That's why you paid $375 to $450 for this inspection to be performed. Yeah. That dollar figure on that inspection report is pennies compared to the $20,000, $30,000, $80,000 bill you could receive at the end of the day after you close on the home and purchase. So those big ones, besides cosmetics, if you're not comfortable, run. Hit the ground, run. The sale agreement's written in your favor, buyer. Yeah. We will write up a contract in your favor. You will get out of that contract with your earnest money intact, because that is how things are written in our area specifically. Yeah. And we will actually give you the advice as well of what we think our honest opinion is. Yeah. The biggie for you is, can you afford your mortgage right now? Can you do it? Because if you can't, and there's cosmetic, but also home repairs needed, okay, that might not be the right home for you. It might not be. Yeah. And you know what? If you have questions or you want to just talk about the home buying process, whether you live here or, you're moving here or you live in a different market, contact us. I have a Zoom consultation right after this with a buyer, and I would love to chat with you guys as well and get your questions answered. So let's get a Zoom call set up. Yeah. And we do come on here every single week and talk about real estate. So subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button. Share this video with a friend. We'll see you next week.